Hi friends and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my 25 books in 2025. I've basically had a rot day, I haven't done much and I felt the urge to do something productive with my day before going to bed, so I thought that hey, let's film a video. So in today's video I will be talking about 25 books that I hope to read in 2025. Every year there are multiple creators doing this and I love the idea, but it is tricky, I feel, because it is hard to commit to reading 25 books of my physical TBR, considering that I usually, or at least if I look at 2024, I read around, I think, 32 or 35 books of my physical TBR. So that would mean that the majority of the books I am talking about today, I must read in 2025, or like, those will be the books read, basically. But still, I've seen plenty of people do this, and I especially feel inspired by Gavin from Gavin Reads It All, because he does this thing where the books he haven't read in the year he said he would read them, he then makes like a dedicated vlog to trying to read those books. So I thought that, hey, I'm trying new things, I'm trying to motivate myself to read more, let's give this another go. I don't actually know if I've ever done this video. I don't think I have, because of the fear of committing to so many books. And I do have a feeling this is going to be like a list that I will forget about the year or sort of have in the back of my mind, but I still won't prioritize it. But I still think it can be interesting to look back at this video and see what I actually read throughout the year or not. Either way, I'm blabbering a lot. But let's talk about the 25 books I hope to read in 2025. I will be approaching this in categories and I will motivate why I want to read a certain book. I might not go into that many specifics about what the books are about. Sorry about that, it's just that there's so many books that we are talking about today. Let me first count if I actually have 25 books. I have 24 books, I need another one. Oh, yeah, now I know. Great, cool, okay. If you know me, you know that I have so many books on my currently reading. Like too many, like 20 plus books. One aim of the year, and I say this every year, I'm starting to be less bothered by the fact that I have so many books on my currently reading. I don't really mind it, but there are definitely books I have started and then put aside that I do feel the urge to finish. So this first category are books I'm currently reading, or getting rid of my currently reading books. So we got 4 of those here. First we have Conversations on Love by Natasha Lunn. This is a nonfiction, it's a collection of essays about love, and I really do enjoy it. I have been reading it, I think I started it in 2023 if I'm being honest. I've had this for a while. And I do really like it, and I feel like this is a 5-star. I always read it and then put it down and don't get back to it, and then read it and put it down. And I guess it's that sort of book where you can do that with, because there isn't really a plot to remember. I have also annotated it while reading it, so there are parts I have highlighted in pink, because it matched the cover. So I definitely had like a proper reading experience with it, I feel like. But I think it deserves to get completed and actually rated. I even dog-eared a page here. Like, I was feeling some sort of way. There are so many different types of love. There's love for friendship, love for children, love across the generations, romantic love, love of work, love of cooking. I wish I'd known how big that word is, how capacious it is, how many different expressions it can have, and how many ordinary graces people can give to each other. This is a great book. It's basically a bunch of interviews and essays with various authors, and I have really been enjoying this. I want to wrap it up. Another current read that I do really like that deserves to be finished is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is a science fiction. It's found family on a spacecraft with a bunch of like different, I guess, creatures. It's wholesome and sweet. The crew is a mishmash of species and personalities. If I'm being honest, I might struggle with remembering things in some of these books I have started and then put aside, but I'm not a person that is gonna start over and read a part I have already read. I will just force myself to figure out as I go what had happened. There's no way I'm like putting down that effort. I'm a third for this one. I'm a good chunk through it and I did enjoy it when I was reading it. So I just need to pick it up again. Another current read that is going to be even more of a struggle to catch up on and remember is Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. I did in 2023 make an attempt to read the First Law series. I made it to the second book and then I put it aside at like a fourth of it or something. I've read 150 pages. It is a slow-going story. If you don't know, it's epic adult fantasy, very grim dark. We are following characters that are not necessarily the good characters, they are more like anti-heroes. If I remember correctly, we were following like 3 main characters and reading from their perspectives and sort of seeing how they were coming together, their stories. And there's like a war also. Everything is leading up to a war. We'll see, we'll see. And the final book in this category is The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. This is like my most recently started book out of the ones I've mentioned. I started it in... when was it? Like August, I think, when I was traveling. This is a mystery told through mixed media. I do like the concept of that. But I'm finding this slightly boring. I don't know, I like some parts of it, but some parts are just like meh. Which is why when I got back from holiday, I didn't really feel the need to continue with this one. It would still be nice to get this book read. Next category is series continuations. Basically me making an attempt to continue with series I have started. First up, we got The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I have read the entire Folk of the Air series back in the day, like in 2019 I think, or 2020. Did enjoy it. I have been meaning to get to this duology following the events of the first series. It's like a young adult fantasy. We're in a fae world. We're following Jude's little brother. I've heard good things about this duology, and I purchased it because I am curious about the duology, and I've just heard good things about it, like surprisingly good things about this duology. So I am intrigued to continue to be in this world a bit more. Another world I want to continue to explore is the Grishaverse. I've read the Grisha series, Shadow and Bone series. I have read the Six of Crows duology. But 2 books that are still on my shelves unread, that I have been meaning to get to but haven't, are the... what are they even called? What is this series called? I don't know if this duology has a name, but it's Nikolai's story. So Nikolai is one of the characters from the Shadow and Bone series, and basically he and some characters from Six of Crows duology got their own duology. So this first book is called King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. Then the second book is called Rule of Wolves. Nikolai was my favorite character from the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Didn't care much about the other characters, if I'm being honest. Six of Crows I love. Six of Crows I adore. I want to reread that series at some point. I loved Nikolai, and I would love to read more about him and his story. So this is a book I have been meaning to get to. This is without the dust jacket, but I just think it looks so nice. I want to get my Nikolai fix this year. A series and an author I've been talking a lot about in 2024 that I want to continue to read is Brandon Sanderson, his Cosmere universe. And next up in the list of books I need to read is Warbreaker. I have read Era 1 of Mistborn, and I saw a recommendation that you could read Warbreaker in between, which is sort of like a standalone fantasy, and then you could also read some of the short stories from his short story collection, and then either continue with Mistborn Era 2 or go on to Stormlight Archive, I think. I want to continue, and I've heard amazing things about Warbreaker as well. Using breath and drawing upon the color in everyday objects, all manner of miracles and mischief can be performed. Sounds cute, sounds fun. I'm excited. Final book in this category is a very recent purchase actually, and that is Heavenly Tyrant by Chiranye Chao. This is the second book following Iron Widow. It's the finale in the duology. Is the series just called Iron Widow? I don't know. This has been an anticipated release for a while. It was supposed to be released like a year ago and was then pushed back a year. So I have been waiting for this one. Do I remember a lot from the first book? No. Will I reread the first book? No. I will just figure things out as I go. It's sci-fi fantasy where the characters are like fighting in these suits, like these Transformer-esque suits, if I remember correctly. And it's a really messed up world with a lot of sexism and misogyny and things like that. And our main character is like this really badass girl. Also there's like a poly relationship going on. And it's interesting. I did really enjoy the first book. Wasn't perfect. I am very curious to see what the author has continued doing with the series. I think this second book is gonna get a bit more political as well, and I do tend to enjoy my political fantasies. Speaking of fantasies, I have an entire category dedicated to fantasies. Fantasy is the majority of my shelves. I have like 4 or 5 shelves dedicated to fantasy TBR books I haven't read yet. Obviously this is a favorite genre of mine, and I've really been feeling more in a fantasy mood. I want to prioritize fantasy more. As mentioned, I want to finish books I have started ages ago. I also want to continue with series I have started. But because I'm hoping to wrap up a few series in 2025, that also means that I don't have to feel as guilty about starting new series in 2025. So on the topic of starting new series, we have The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. Two strangers find themselves connected by a vast and mysterious library containing many wonders and still more secrets. I know this is an ongoing series. I think there are 2 books out, maybe 3, or that the 3rd book is being released this year. And I feel like I've heard good things about it. I am very intrigued. I want to read this author. I know he has plenty of series, and yeah, I want to start a new series. A book I have been dying to read because it's on everyone's lips. Everyone's talking about this book, about this series. Everyone's hyping it up so much. And like, I can't wait. I have actually low-key started it, meaning I have read 12 pages. So I'm hoping to get this read soon. But that book is The Will of the Many by James Islington. Everyone is hyping this one up, okay? Everyone. I've seen it on so many people's best book of 2024 and things like that. And I'm excited to get to it and to understand what the hype is and be a part of the hype. This is some sort of magical academy in a Roman-inspired world. We have a very cool main character apparently. I've seen it compared to like Hunger Games and Hunger Games-esque vibes. I don't know much, but I have started it, so I'm hoping I will be able to prioritize it soon. I have a few other books I'm currently reading that I need to get done first. But once I have all of that aside, this is definitely going to be my next read. And I think the second book is being released by the end of 2025, so it's a perfect time to read this book now. A book I've said too many times I need to get to and still haven't, and like 2025 is the year it's happening, okay? Okay. I have promised many times I will read this book and I have not yet read it, so I'm not gonna make any more promises other than the fact that I'm making this video. We know this book is getting read either this year or when I'm forced to make the vlog of reading the books I didn't read in 2025. What I'm talking about is Fourth Wing. You've seen this book everywhere. You probably know a lot more about it than I do. It's new adult romantasy, fantasy, dragon riders, some sort of cruel school. The 3rd book is being released now or was just released or something like that, so it's still a lot of hype surrounding this series. I'm reading Fourth Wing in 2025. And then a bit more of like miscellaneous fantasy, not necessarily chosen as I'm starting a new series, but still they might be part of series. I don't know. There's some authors I want to get to and also some standalone books. First off, we have Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. I have not read any of Jennifer Saint's books yet, but I really want to. She writes these feminist retellings of ancient Greek myths, and I want to get into that. I feel like I could really enjoy them. So I have Ariadne. I know she has written so many more for like Electra and something else. Once again, you probably know more about it than I do. I really want to get back into the mythical retellings since there are so many books being released in this sort of like subgenre nowadays, and I really do want to read them. Spin the Dawn is another book I pulled out, and that is because I actually have 2 books by Elizabeth Lim on my physical TBR, and I feel like I should at least read one of them. This is some sort of YA fantasy duology, a tailor in disguise, 3 legendary dresses, the competition of a lifetime. It sounds so stupid, but it can possibly be super entertaining. I want to continue reading V. E. Schwab's bibliography, all of her books, and the only series I think, no, that's not right, but I still haven't read this series. What is this series even called? Monsters of Verity series. I haven't read the Monsters of Verity series, so we have This Savage Song and also Our Dark Duet. I've heard good things about it. It's more YA fantasy, I think. Something about music, if I remember correctly, and something about actual monsters. This is the only book on my V Schwab shelf that I still haven't read, so that's why I need to read it. There are still books I need to get to, but this is the one I have available at now. The Lights of Prague by Nicole Jarvis. This was a gift from my friends a few years back, and I still haven't gotten to it, and I really want to because it's a historical fantasy with vampires taking place in Prague, I think, and it sounds like something that is right up my alley. Vampires in Prague. I love Prague. The cover has my colors on them, red, black and white. If I was a book, I would probably be this book. I believe that the final one in this fantasy category is A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk, or Marsky, however you say her name. It's one of my Illumicrate books, and as we all know, I need to get better at reading my Illumicrate books. This is one of the ones I've had the longest. I think this is more like historical romance with some fantastical and speculative elements in it. A bit more just like fantastical, magical, but not necessarily fantasy world, if you catch my drift. I need to read my Illumicrate books, and this is actually one of the ones I'm the most intrigued by and have been the most intrigued by for a while. Next category is romance, and I only have 2 books in this category, but that is because I feel like I actually do get to my romances. I don't have as many on my physical TBR. One book I really need to get to is The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. Now, I love The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. That is one of my absolute favorite romances. But I'm nervous about reading her other works. I feel like I have heard very mixed things. Why am I turning red? I think it's the blue. Sorry. Stop turning me red. What do I need to do to not be red? I feel like I'm turning red when I'm talking about this book. Something about the camera settings. I don't know. Sorry if things are looking weird. I won't hold it up too long. I have mixed feelings about getting to her other books. I know she has released this one and another one and have like other books coming that I do want to get to if they are my style. I have this one and another book of her on my physical TBR, so I feel like I should read her and know whether she is for me or not, and if The Spanish Love Deception was just like a one-off thing or something. I'm gonna put this down now. The red thing is freaking me out. The other romance I have on this list is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I have only ever read Beach Read, so I feel like I need to get to some more Emily Henry, and this is the book I have, so why not continue with Book Lovers? One Summer, Two Rivals, and a plot twist they didn't see coming. Next category is nonfiction. I have 3 books in this one. Let's start with Mythos. I'm gonna turn red again, I swear. By Stephen Fry. As mentioned, I want to get more into my mythical retellings. There are multiple books in the series. I feel like I could really enjoy them. This one has also been on my TBR for a very long time, so it's about time that I get to it. A very recent gift is Surviving to Drive by Gunther Steiner. This is Gunther Steiner's memoir. He used to work with like Formula 1. He's such a character, such an icon. And yeah, this is just his story of working in the team that he worked in. He's a very funny character, and I'm interested to get to this one. I like my celebrity memoirs with a bunch of tea in them. Final one that might come in use this year, we're gonna see, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Everyone has this on their TBR. Everyone has either read this or wanted to read this, or have very strong opinions about not reading this one, I feel like. It is some sort of self-help book about how you can build good habits. I'm not like a self-help sort of person necessarily, but I am a planner, and I am a very ambitious and optimistic planner when it comes to building habits and getting into good routines. Especially at the start of a new year, I always feel so motivated to do my best to build good habits and routines, and perhaps reading this one will help me with that. I feel like it's time I get to this and actually see if I can learn anything from this book. And then final category is like Litfic, Contemporary and Miscellaneous. We are starting with The Authenticity Project by Claire Poley. I'm putting this on the list mainly because it's been way too long on my physical TBR. I think I hauled this back in 2020, if I remember correctly, either that or like early 2021. It has just spent too long on the shelves without me having any sort of opinion about it. So I'm curious to see what it's about. It's about 6 strangers with one thing in common. Their lives aren't always what they make them out to be. What would happen if they told the truth instead? A bit of an odd one maybe. Horror Stir by Grady Hendrix. This is a horror story taking place in an IKEA warehouse. And as I am a Swede, I feel like it is my duty to read this one. What's funny with this one is it's actually formatted as an IKEA catalog, which is a lot of fun. So like just the way it's set up with like text and all of that, it's giving IKEA catalog. I haven't read Grady Hendrix before either. I am really curious to read his books, and this is just a funny one to have, so I feel like it's a good laugh to read this one. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, another book that has spent way too long on my shelves without ever being read. I've had it for as long as I've had Mythos and The Authenticity Project, so that's why I have grouped all of those together. This is also like a modern classic in some ways. I think maybe that's a bold claim. I've seen this author everywhere, especially this book, and I feel like it's time I get to it. Something about a boarding school, something childhood trauma, maybe. I don't really know. And the last one on this list is perhaps a reread in some ways, and in some ways not. And that is the Jubilee edition of A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. See, I'm turning red again. It's the blue. The blue is turning me red. I need to figure out what is making that happen. I have read A Man Called Ove, but I have not read this particular edition, and I actually have 2 copies of it, as you can see. And that is because this one I pre-ordered, but then the second one I actually received when I went to a screening event of A Man Called Odo. Everyone that went got a signed copy of this Jubilee edition of the book. So that's why I have 2. What's different with this edition is there's a lot of tidbits in it from Backman. So I think there's like an additional 150 pages where Backman reflects on choices he made throughout the book and how it's so personal to him, I think. So it's sort of like a behind the scenes read to the reader. Also, there's apparently some writing tips and some bonuses from the actors that have played A Man Called Ove in various ways, like Tom Hanks, Rolf Lassgård, Johan Rheborg, the movie directors, the editors and publishers, and just like, yeah, a bunch of fun tidbits, behind the scenes things. And I do want to get to this. And there we have it! The 25 books I hope to read in 2025 and the reason behind them. What do you think? Do you think I can accomplish this? Is this a realistic list or not? I try to mix up long and short books. It's a very optimistic view of what my reading will look like in 2025, and also a way of me to feel like I'm working through my physical TBR, which is always appreciated. Please let me know what you thought of this list. Let me know if you have any must-reads for 2025. I will make a video where I talk about upcoming releases that I'm super duper excited about. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Please take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye!